The evening light filtered through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow on the cluttered table. My husband sat across from me, his brow furrowed in thought. We had just finished dinner, a simple affair of roasted chicken and vegetables, but the air was thick with unspoken words. He cleared his throat, breaking the silence that had settled between us like an unwelcome guest. "What if we tried something different?" he asked, his voice steady but laced with an undercurrent of uncertainty. I looked up from my half-empty glass of wine, my curiosity piqued. He continued, "What if you explored intimacy with another man? While I'm there." The suggestion hung in the air, heavy and surreal. I blinked, trying to process his words. Sharing intimacy? With someone else? The thought felt foreign and unsettling. My heart raced as I considered the implications of such an arrangement. It was as if he had tossed a stone into a still pond, sending ripples of confusion through my mind. "Why would you want that?" I asked cautiously, searching his face for clues to this unexpected proposal. His gaze shifted away from mine, staring at the remnants of our meal as if they held the answers. "I don't know," he admitted. "Maybe I'm afraid of losing you." The vulnerability in his voice struck a chord deep within me. Here was a man who had always been my rock, now revealing insecurities that I had never seen before. I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed defensively over my chest. The idea gnawed at me. It felt like standing on the edge of a precipice, looking down into an abyss that could swallow us whole or lead to something entirely new. "But what about our marriage? Isn't this risky?" He nodded slowly, his expression earnest. "It is risky. But maybe it could bring us closer together." The sincerity in his eyes was disarming. This wasn't just some whimsical idea, it was a plea for connection wrapped in layers of fear and hope. I took another sip of wine, letting its warmth spread through me as I contemplated what this meant for our future. Could exploring such boundaries really strengthen our bond? Or would it unravel everything we had built together over the years? "Have you thought about what this could do to us?" My voice trembled slightly as doubt crept in. "What if things get complicated?" He shrugged slightly, a gesture that seemed to suggest he had weighed those risks already but found them worth taking. "Life is complicated," he said simply. As we sat there in silence again, I couldn't shake off the feeling that this conversation was more than just about exploring new relationships. It was about confronting our fears and desires head-on, a dance on the edge of uncertainty. The next few days were filled with restless thoughts and sleepless nights as I mulled over his proposition like an unsolvable puzzle. Every coffee shop visit became an exercise in introspection. Each sip was accompanied by visions of what could be, an artist's brush gliding across canvas or laughter shared with someone new under Portland's vibrant street art. Despite my reservations, a flicker of excitement ignited within me at the prospect of change, a chance to explore uncharted waters while still anchored to my marriage. Yet every time I envisioned myself with another man, sharing laughter or secrets, I felt an overwhelming sense of guilt wash over me like cold water. On one particularly rainy afternoon, while wandering through one of Portland's eclectic art galleries after work, I found myself drawn to a piece that seemed to call out to me, a swirling mass of colors capturing both chaos and beauty simultaneously. As I stood there lost in thought, someone approached me. "Beautiful piece, isn't it?" A voice broke through my reverie. I turned to find a man standing beside me, a stranger whose presence felt oddly comforting amidst the chaos swirling in my mind. We exchanged pleasantries about art and life while standing shoulder to shoulder before that mesmerizing canvas. "It reminds me that beauty often comes from chaos," he mused thoughtfully. I smiled softly at him. There was something refreshing about our conversation, no pretense or expectations, just two people sharing thoughts on art and life's complexities. As we talked more about our interests, his passion for painting and mine for photography, I felt something shift within me. Walls began to crumble around my heart as we shared stories punctuated by laughter and moments of vulnerability. In an impulsive moment fueled by excitement and curiosity about where this connection might lead us next, I leaned in closer than necessary when he spoke passionately about his creative process. Our lips almost brushed against each other's skin before reality crashed back down around us like thunder on a clear day. I stepped back abruptly, breathless yet exhilarated by what almost happened, a spark igniting between two souls who were both searching for something deeper amidst their own individual chaos. The thrill lingered long after our encounter ended with polite goodbyes exchanged outside the gallery doors. My heart raced with possibilities while guilt simmered beneath it all like an undercurrent threatening to pull me under once again. Days turned into weeks as our lives intertwined more intricately than ever before. I found solace in painting alongside him during late-night sessions filled with laughter and creativity. The lines between friendship and something more began blurring until they became indistinguishable from each other altogether. Yet every stroke on canvas came tainted with guilt. The weight of secrets pressed heavily upon my shoulders as late-night outings became frequent escapes from reality where art flourished but truth remained hidden beneath layers waiting patiently for revelation. Daybreaks ahead when morning light would shine down upon all. Choices made thus far illuminating paths taken without knowing their true destination, yet ahead still lay uncertainty looming large, casting shadows upon everything once familiar. Now transformed into something entirely different altogether, leaving only questions behind, echoing unanswered truths waiting patiently beneath quiet whispers begging for release into daylight once more. The moment I agreed to the experiment, a rush of adrenaline coursed through me. It was a decision rooted in hope, a desire to strengthen the bond that had begun to fray. Yet, as I stepped into this new chapter, a storm brewed within me. The thrill of exploring uncharted territory clashed with the weight of emotional implications. I was about to navigate a path that could either lead to renewal or disaster. I found myself at my favorite coffee shop, nestled in a corner booth with my sketchbook spread open before me. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee mingled with the faint sounds of laughter and conversation around me. It was here that I first met him, an artist whose vibrant energy matched the colorful murals that adorned the streets of Portland. He had a way of seeing the world that captivated me instantly. "Mind if I join you?" he asked, his voice warm and inviting. "Not at all," I replied, trying to keep my tone casual despite my racing heart. As we talked about art and life, I felt an unexpected connection forming. Our shared passion for creativity ignited something within me, a spark I hadn't realized had dimmed over time. We exchanged stories about our inspirations, dreams, and fears as the hours slipped away unnoticed. "You paint?" he asked after I mentioned my long-forgotten hobby. "A little," I admitted, feeling embarrassed. "It's been ages since I picked up a brush." "Why not start again? There's no better time than now." His encouragement stirred something deep inside me. The thought of painting again sent waves of nostalgia crashing over me, memories of late nights spent lost in colors and shapes flooded back. Yet beneath that excitement lay an undercurrent of guilt. My husband's proposal loomed large in my mind like an uninvited guest at a gathering. Days turned into weeks as our lives intertwined more intricately than ever before. I found solace in painting alongside him during late-night sessions filled with laughter and creativity. The lines between friendship and something more began blurring until they became indistinguishable from each other altogether. One evening, while we worked side by side in his studio surrounded by canvases splashed with vibrant hues, he turned to me with an intensity that made my heart race. "You have such talent," he said softly. "You should embrace it." In that moment, vulnerability washed over us like a soft breeze through open windows. The tension hung thick in the air as we shared our aspirations and fears. My heart thudded painfully against my ribcage when he leaned closer. We kissed. The world outside faded away. There was only the warmth of his lips against mine, a fleeting moment suspended in time where everything else ceased to exist. It felt exhilarating yet terrifying all at once, a collision between desire and loyalty that left me breathless. But as quickly as it began, reality crashed back down around us like an unrelenting tide pulling me under. Guilt clawed at my insides. How could I justify this? My husband's face flashed through my mind, the man who had suggested this very experiment out of love but now felt like an anchor dragging me deeper into uncertainty. I pulled away slowly, searching his eyes for understanding but finding only confusion mirrored back at me. I shouldn't have. My voice trailed off as shame washed over me like cold water. He reached for my hand gently, grounding me amidst the chaos swirling within. "It's okay," he whispered reassuringly. But was it really? In the days following our kiss, everything shifted beneath my feet. The thrill of our connection grew stronger while guilt festered just beneath the surface like an unwelcome guest refusing to leave. Painting became both an escape and a reminder. Every stroke on canvas echoed unspoken truths waiting patiently for release into daylight once more. Yet still, late-night outings became frequent escapes from reality where art flourished but truth remained hidden beneath layers waiting patiently for revelation. Daybreaks ahead when morning light would shine down upon all choices made thus far, illuminating paths taken without knowing their true destination. Yet ahead still lay uncertainty looming large, casting shadows upon everything once familiar now transformed into something entirely different altogether, leaving only questions behind, echoing unanswered truths waiting patiently beneath quiet whispers begging for release into daylight once more. As I navigated this dual existence, one foot firmly planted in marriage while the other danced dangerously close to infidelity, I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted irreparably within me. My husband remained oblivious to the growing distance between us. He continued to express excitement about our arrangement while I grappled with emotions too complex to articulate. One evening after dinner, we sat together on our worn couch watching television, the familiar hum providing comfort amidst uncertainty, but even then, it felt like we were worlds apart despite being physically close. "Have you thought more about what we discussed?" he asked casually without looking away from the screen. "Yeah," I replied hesitantly before adding quickly, "I think it could be good for us." His eyes lit up with enthusiasm, a stark contrast to how heavy my heart felt at that moment, but how could I tell him what was really happening? How could I explain this tangled web woven from threads of desire and fear? Instead, we continued discussing boundaries and possibilities while underneath it all lay silent turmoil brewing. A storm waiting patiently for its moment to break free from confinement, threatening everything familiar, threatening everything cherished, yet unknown consequences loomed large, casting shadows upon choices made thus far, leaving only questions behind, echoing unanswered truths, begging for release into daylight once more. And so life continued on this precarious tightrope where each step forward felt both exhilarating yet terrifying, a dance between love and betrayal unfolding quietly beneath layers unseen by those who remained blissfully unaware. The sun had dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow through the window as I sat at the small table in our favorite coffee shop. The familiar aroma of roasted beans filled the air, mingling with the sound of quiet conversations and the clinking of ceramic cups. My husband had suggested this place for our weekly check-in about the experiment, a term we both began using to describe this uncharted territory we were navigating. "Are you feeling okay about everything?" he asked, his brow furrowed slightly, eyes searching mine for reassurance. "Yeah, I think so," I replied, though uncertainty lingered in my voice. The truth was more complicated than that. Each day blurred into another as I juggled my growing connection with the artist and my commitment to my husband. "How about you?" "I'm good," he said, but there was an edge to his tone that suggested otherwise. "Just trying to understand how this all fits together." I nodded and took a sip of my coffee, letting its warmth seep into me while I considered the weight of his words. There was a sense of guilt that clawed at me whenever we discussed our arrangement. The thrill of my secret life felt intoxicating yet burdensome, like a beautiful painting marred by errant brushstrokes. Later that evening, I found myself seated in a dimly lit studio surrounded by canvases splashed with vibrant colors. The artist stood before me, paintbrush in hand, as he demonstrated techniques that transformed blank surfaces into expressions of raw emotion. Art is about vulnerability, he said softly while mixing hues on his palette. You have to let go of control to create something beautiful. His words resonated deeply within me as I picked up a brush for the first time. With each stroke on canvas, layers began to peel away, not just from the paint but from my own guarded self. The act of creating became an escape from reality. It allowed me to explore parts of myself long buried under routine and expectation. As we painted side by side, our laughter filled the room, and an electric energy pulsed between us. Our lips met in a moment that felt both inevitable and forbidden, a spark igniting something profound yet terrifying. I pulled back quickly, breathless and startled by what had just transpired. We shouldn't have done that, I whispered, heart racing. Why not? He asked gently, his eyes searching mine for clarity. It complicates everything, I replied, feeling torn between desire and loyalty. He studied me for a moment before nodding slowly as if understanding the unspoken tensions swirling around us. Sometimes complications lead to breakthroughs. I wanted to believe him. Perhaps this was part of discovering who I truly was beyond being someone's wife or mother, an identity shaped by expectations rather than genuine passion. But guilt loomed large like an unwelcome shadow over every interaction with him and even during conversations with my husband about our arrangement. Each late-night outing felt increasingly deceptive. How could I justify spending hours with another man while promising transparency within my marriage? The following days were marked by restless nights filled with dreams tinged with color, vivid images of paint splatters and shared laughter intermingled with flashes of doubt about what lay ahead. My husband remained oblivious to these internal conflicts. Each time he smiled at me or held my hand during dinner made it harder to reconcile these two worlds colliding within me. One afternoon while sipping coffee at home, a ritual we cherished, I sensed an underlying tension brewing beneath our casual banter. Have you been busy lately? He asked casually but with an intensity that made my stomach twist. Just working on some art projects, I said lightly but could see his eyes narrowing slightly as if assessing whether there was more behind my words than met the eye. Art? You've been really diving into it, he observed thoughtfully before changing topics abruptly, a diversion that felt almost forced yet necessary given the precarious balance we were attempting to maintain. But later that night after settling into bed beside him, his warmth enveloping me in comfort, I couldn't shake off the nagging feeling gnawing at my conscience like a persistent itch demanding attention. What would happen if he discovered how deep my connection had grown? What if sharing intimacy with another man meant losing everything familiar? As days passed into weeks filled with stolen moments spent painting alongside the artist, each session revealing hidden depths within myself, I found solace in creative expression but also confusion regarding where loyalty truly lay amidst swirling emotions threatening to unravel everything once cherished. One evening after finishing a particularly vibrant piece together, colors dancing across canvas like flames flickering against darkness, we shared stories about our lives beyond art. Dreams unrealized and regrets lingering just beneath surface-level smiles exchanged during casual interactions over coffee shops or crowded street festivals celebrating local talent. I've always struggled with feeling enough, he admitted quietly while cleaning brushes stained from our latest creation. Sometimes it feels like no matter how hard I try, there's always something missing. His vulnerability struck a chord deep within me. It mirrored sentiments echoing through my own thoughts as well. The notion that perhaps pursuing this path meant confronting fears lurking beneath layers built over years spent conforming rather than exploring what truly mattered most. In those moments spent together surrounded by creativity blossoming around us, I felt alive again. A sensation long forgotten amidst daily routines overshadowed by responsibilities demanding attention without pause for introspection or growth beyond mere survival instincts guiding actions taken day after day without question until now. But clarity came at a price. The emotional weight of secrets began pressing down heavily upon me like an anchor threatening to drag everything under. how much longer could I maintain this duality without consequences? As summer faded into autumn, the air crispening outside while leaves turned shades reminiscent of fire, I sensed change looming just beyond reach, a transformation waiting patiently until circumstances aligned perfectly enough for decisions needing resolution. And yet standing at this crossroads, the thrill mingled dangerously close alongside fear, leaving only questions unanswered lingering ominously overhead, casting shadows upon choices made thus far. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow across the room. I stirred awake, feeling the warmth of another body beside me. For a fleeting moment, I savored the intimacy of this new reality, a stark contrast to the life I had been leading just weeks before. We spent the night together, lost in conversation and shared dreams that seemed to flow easily between us. Yet beneath this comfort lay an undercurrent of anxiety that refused to dissipate. As I slipped out of bed, careful not to disturb him, I glanced back at his peaceful face. A sense of guilt washed over me. This was not how I had envisioned my life unfolding when my husband first broached the idea of exploring new relationships. What began as a desperate attempt to revive our marriage had spiraled into something far more complicated than I could have anticipated. I moved quietly around the small apartment, taking in the eclectic decor that spoke volumes about his artistic soul. Each brushstroke on his canvases told stories that now intertwined with my own in ways I hadn't expected. The vibrant colors mirrored my emotions, chaotic yet beautiful. After showering and dressing, I made my way to the kitchen to brew coffee. The aroma filled the air, grounding me momentarily as I tried to sort through my tangled thoughts. My phone buzzed on the counter, a reminder of responsibilities waiting for me back home, my husband's calls and texts increasingly frequent as he expressed concern over my late nights. The artist joined me in the kitchen, sleep still heavy in his eyes but a smile breaking through as he caught sight of me. "Coffee?" I asked, pouring him a cup without hesitation. "Thank you," he replied, taking a sip and closing his eyes in appreciation. "You make mornings feel special." I chuckled lightly but felt a pang of sadness at how true that was, not just for this moment but for all those mornings lost in my own life back home. "What's on your mind?" he asked suddenly, catching me off guard. I hesitated before responding, unsure how much to share about my growing internal conflict. "Just thinking about everything," I finally said. He nodded knowingly and took another sip from his cup. "It's a lot to navigate." His understanding made it easier to breathe, yet it also reminded me of what lay ahead, the conversations with my husband that would inevitably come when I returned home. As we finished our coffee, an unexpected invitation arrived via text from him, an art exhibition opening later that evening featuring local artists, his friends and colleagues, an event where our worlds would collide publicly for the first time. "I'd love for you to come," he said earnestly after reading it aloud. An invitation like this carried weight. It meant stepping further into uncharted territory where secrets could no longer be contained within four walls. The thought sent shivers down my spine, both excitement and dread mingling together like oil and water. "I'll think about it," I managed to say, aware that saying yes would mean risking everything even more than before. The day passed slowly as I returned home and faced reality again. The mundane tasks awaiting me felt almost suffocating after such vibrant moments spent away from them. My husband greeted me with relief etched on his face. He had been worried about my absence yet again. "Where were you?" he asked casually while helping himself to dinner leftovers. "I lost track of time," was all I offered, a half-truth cloaked in silence as we settled into our evening routine. Conversations flowed uneasily between us. Laughter felt forced while lingering glances hinted at unspoken questions hanging heavily in the air like fog over Portland's streets at dawn. Later that night, lying next to him in bed, his warm presence both comforting and suffocating, I couldn't help but feel trapped by choices made out of desperation rather than genuine desire for exploration or growth within our marriage. As sleep began to creep upon me despite these swirling thoughts, one question lingered: how long could this charade last? Days turned into weeks as autumn deepened its hold on Portland. Leaves fell like whispers around us while colors shifted dramatically outside, a reflection of changes happening within myself too. The art exhibition loomed closer. Each passing day heightened anticipation mingled with dread until finally arriving at its threshold felt inevitable. A decision awaited just beyond those doors, filled with creativity waiting patiently for recognition amidst swirling chaos around every corner outside them too. In preparation for this pivotal moment ahead, I chose an outfit carefully balancing between casual elegance befitting an artist's gathering yet remaining true enough not to attract unwanted attention from anyone present there who might know either side of what was unfolding beneath surface appearances. On arrival at the gallery later that evening, the atmosphere buzzed with energy reminiscent of summer festivals gone by. The vibrant colors reflected both inside artwork displayed proudly along walls surrounding us while laughter echoed throughout spaces filled with strangers sharing their passions openly without fear. I spotted him immediately across crowded room engaging animatedly with others who admired his work. Excitement swelled within me despite lingering apprehensions surrounding what would happen next. How would our relationship be perceived here? Would anyone suspect anything beyond simple admiration shared between two people drawn together by creativity? As we locked eyes amidst thrumming chaos surrounding us, it felt electric. All doubts melted away momentarily, replaced instead by exhilarating possibility waiting just beyond reach. "Glad you came," he said softly when we finally reunited amidst laughter echoing around us both like music from distant memories calling out towards something greater than ourselves ever could alone. "Me too," was all I managed before losing myself once more within swirling conversations unfolding around us. But beneath surface-level interactions lingered shadows growing darker each passing hour, a reminder looming overhead threatening consequences if truth ever surfaced regarding hidden connections lurking beneath facade being presented outwardly tonight. As festivities continued late into night, I found myself wondering how long could this last? How many more secrets could be buried beneath layers created carefully designed only for survival rather than authenticity? And when morning light broke once more illuminating lives lived behind closed doors, the clarity brought forth harsh realities awaiting reckoning promised nothing soft nor forgiving. The morning light filtered through the curtains, casting soft shadows across the room. I stared at the ceiling, tracing the patterns in the plaster with my eyes, contemplating the weight of my decisions. The laughter from last night's festivities still echoed in my mind, a bittersweet reminder of fleeting moments. Each giggle and cheer had masked deeper uncertainties lurking beneath the surface. As I lay there, I could hear my husband moving about in the kitchen. The clinking of dishes and the bubbling of coffee filled the air, grounding me in a reality I was beginning to question. I had embarked on this experiment to strengthen our marriage, but now it felt like a tangled web of emotions that I was struggling to navigate. I rolled out of bed and slipped into a robe, feeling its comforting fabric against my skin as I made my way to join him. He stood by the coffee maker, his back turned to me. A familiar sight that once brought warmth now felt distant. "Morning," he said without turning around. "Morning." My voice was tentative, as if testing the waters before diving in. He poured 2 mugs and finally turned to face me. "I thought we could talk today." I nodded slowly, bracing myself for what might come next. We hadn't had an open conversation since our initial agreement. The silence between us had grown louder with each passing day. "I've been thinking," he began, his brow furrowing slightly as he searched for words. "About this arrangement." He hesitated as if weighing his next words carefully. "What about it?" "I want us to be honest with each other." His gaze met mine with an intensity that made my heart race, though not entirely in a good way. I took a deep breath and sat at the kitchen table, feeling exposed under his scrutiny. "What do you mean by honest? I've noticed you've been distant lately." His voice was steady but edged with concern. "And I can't help but wonder if this is working for you." The truth hung heavy in the air between us like an uninvited guest. How could I explain that while part of me craved connection with him, another part sought something different? "I'm just trying to figure things out," I replied cautiously. He nodded slowly but didn't break eye contact. "Is it because of him?" The question lingered like smoke from a recently extinguished candle, familiar yet unsettling. "Maybe," I said softly. He leaned back slightly in his chair, crossing his arms defensively as if preparing for impact. "I want you to know that it's okay if you're developing feelings for him, or anyone else." A wave of relief washed over me momentarily before guilt crashed down again like a tidal wave. Could he truly be okay with this? Or was he simply trying to mask his own insecurities? "I don't want to hurt you," I said quietly. His expression softened slightly, vulnerability seeped through his bravado. "You're not hurting me by exploring your feelings." But how could that be true? Each time I spent time with him, the artist, I felt myself slipping further away from what we once had together. "What about you?" The question slipped out before I could stop myself. "What do you mean? Are you exploring your feelings too?" He sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair, a gesture that spoke volumes about his inner turmoil. "I've been thinking about it, more than I care to admit." My heart raced. His admission opened up new avenues of thought, paths we had yet to explore together. "Have you met someone?" My voice trembled slightly at the possibility. "Not exactly," he said slowly, choosing his words with caution. "But there are connections, conversations that have gone deeper than they should." A knot formed in my stomach as realization dawned on me. We were both dancing around uncharted territory filled with potential heartbreak and confusion. What do we do now? The question hung heavily between us, a fragile bridge over turbulent waters. He leaned forward earnestly, placing both hands on the table as if anchoring himself against an unseen tide. "We need to decide what this means for us moving forward." Tension crackled between us like static electricity. Uncertainty loomed large over our conversation as we faced an unknown future together, or apart. "I don't know if I can go back," I admitted quietly, feeling tears prick at my eyes despite my efforts to hold them back. His gaze softened further, understanding flickered within those familiar depths but was tinged with sadness too, a reflection of our shared struggle against shifting tides. "We can redefine things," he suggested gently but firmly, an anchor amidst chaos swirling around us both. But how? The question felt monumental, fraught with implications neither one of us wanted to confront fully just yet. "We'll take it one step at a time." He offered a tentative smile, a fragile thread connecting us even amid uncertainty looming ahead like dark clouds gathering on the horizon. In that moment, amidst coffee cups and half-finished conversations, I understood how fragile love could be, how easily it could shift shapes beneath layers crafted carefully over years spent together, or apart, even without intention behind actions taken along winding paths chosen freely by both parties involved. As we sat in silence sipping our coffee, the warmth mingling with tension filling every breath, something shifted within me, clarity emerging from confusion like dawn breaking through night's embrace. Yet beneath newfound clarity lay deeper questions still unanswered, choices looming ahead threatening everything familiar while beckoning exploration into realms unknown. Would we find ourselves lost forever among shadows cast by choices made? Or would we emerge stronger from this experiment forged anew? As thoughts spiraled outwards into possibilities unseen, the weight of impending decisions settled heavily upon my shoulders. The clock ticked softly in the background, a reminder that time waited for no one, even amidst uncertainty swirling around two souls intertwined yet drifting ever so slightly apart. The weight of the conversation lingered in the air, thick and palpable. As I sat across from my husband at our small kitchen table, the sun filtering through the window cast a warm glow on his face. Yet, I couldn't shake the chill that ran down my spine. My heart raced as I prepared to voice feelings I had kept hidden for too long. I need to talk about something, I began, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside me. He looked up from his coffee, eyes narrowing slightly. This was it, the moment of truth. What's on your mind? He asked, leaning forward slightly. The tension between us crackled like static electricity. I've been thinking about our arrangement, I continued, choosing my words carefully. About what it means for us. The vulnerability in my voice surprised even me. He sighed heavily, running a hand through his hair. I know it's complicated, he replied slowly. But we agreed to explore this together. I nodded but felt an urgency building within me. I've been seeing someone. The admission hung in the air like a heavy fog. His expression shifted, an unsettling mix of surprise and hurt crossed his face. Someone? You mean, you're actually involved with him? His voice was barely above a whisper, laden with disbelief. Yes, I admitted, feeling exposed. But it's not just physical, there's more to it. He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms defensively. And what about us? What does this mean for our marriage? A wave of guilt washed over me as I struggled to articulate my feelings. I thought this would help us grow closer, I murmured. But instead, it feels like we're drifting apart. Silence enveloped us as we both processed the implications of my words. Then he spoke again, his tone softer but still guarded. You're not the only one who has sought connection elsewhere. My heart sank as I processed his admission. He had also stepped outside our marriage boundaries. It felt surreal and oddly comforting to know we were both seeking solace in different places. Who? I asked, unable to mask the curiosity that bubbled up within me. It doesn't matter, he said quickly, avoiding eye contact. What matters is that we're both lost right now. The truth hung between us like an uninvited guest at a dinner party, awkward and uncomfortable yet undeniable. My mind raced with possibilities. Our shared secrets were both a burden and a strange bond that connected us in this moment of honesty. What do we do now? I asked hesitantly. He rubbed his temples as if trying to ward off a headache. We need to figure out what this means for us moving forward. His words echoed in my mind, a call to action steeped in uncertainty and fear of loss. Would we redefine our relationship or let these revelations drive us further apart? I don't want to lose you, I confessed quietly, feeling tears prick at the corners of my eyes. Neither do I, he replied softly, reaching across the table to take my hand in his, a gesture that felt both familiar and foreign after everything that had transpired. As we sat there holding hands, an unexpected warmth spread through me despite the gravity of our situation. It was as if we were standing at a crossroads, a place where choices could lead down divergent paths filled with potential or despair. We need clarity, he said finally, breaking the silence once more. Let's set some boundaries, redefine what this experiment means for both of us. I nodded slowly. Perhaps this was a step toward healing rather than destruction, a way to navigate through the murky waters we found ourselves in together. Maybe talking openly about our experiences will help, I suggested cautiously. He raised an eyebrow but seemed intrigued by the idea. You mean share details about him? The thought sent shivers down my spine but also sparked something deeper within me, a desire for transparency that could pave new pathways for understanding each other's hearts. Yes, I replied firmly despite feeling vulnerable at the prospect of exposing more than just physical encounters but emotional truths too. His gaze softened as he contemplated my suggestion. Perhaps he understood that honesty might bridge gaps created by secrecy and fear. Okay, he said finally after several moments stretched into eternity between us. Let's try it. A sense of relief washed over me at his willingness to engage openly, yet uncertainty lingered like shadows dancing around us, reminding me how fragile our connection had become amidst these revelations. But before either of us could delve deeper into specifics or explore any lingering emotions further, there was an abrupt knock at the door, a jarring interruption that shattered our momentary peace. "I'll get it," he said quickly before standing up from the table and walking toward the entrance with purpose etched on his face. As he opened the door wide enough for whoever stood outside to enter, the atmosphere shifted again dramatically, an unwelcome visitor threatening whatever fragile ground we had begun to tread upon together so cautiously moments before. My heart raced anew as voices floated back into earshot from beyond, their tones unfamiliar yet laden with urgency, and suddenly everything felt precarious once more. "What are you doing here?" My husband's voice carried an edge as confusion mingled with surprise colored every word spoken aloud, now echoing against walls once filled only by whispers shared between two souls intertwined. As they exchanged hurried words just beyond sight, I felt myself teetering on an emotional precipice where choices made could either bind or sever ties irrevocably, a reminder that life often unfolds unpredictably when least expected. "What are you doing here?" My husband's voice carried an edge, confusion mingling with surprise. I stood frozen, caught between the man I had promised to love and the artist who had become a part of my secret life. The weight of my choices pressed down on me like a heavy blanket, suffocating yet strangely familiar. "I came to see the exhibit," I replied, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. The art gallery buzzed with energy, vibrant colors splashing across canvases that seemed to pulse with life. Yet here I was, feeling as if I were in a different world altogether, one where my heart was divided. He studied me for a moment, searching for answers hidden in my eyes. "You didn't mention it." His tone was accusatory but tinged with concern. "Things have changed," I said softly, glancing around at the art that surrounded us. Each piece told a story, much like my own, a narrative woven from threads of desire and uncertainty. As we navigated through the crowd, we stumbled upon an installation that invited interaction. A canvas stretched across a wall beckoned visitors to contribute their thoughts. My husband stepped forward, eager to engage with this collective expression of creativity. "Let's write something together," he suggested, his demeanor softening as he picked up a brush. I hesitated but followed him to the canvas. Together we painted words, our hopes for the future and fears of what lay ahead. It felt oddly cathartic, yet each stroke reminded me of the chasm growing between us. While we painted side by side, I caught sight of him, the artist, across the room, his presence magnetic among the throng of admirers surrounding his work. He met my gaze and offered a subtle nod. It felt like an unspoken promise wrapped in secrecy. "Do you think we can fix this?" My husband's question pulled me back into our shared reality. His sincerity shone through even as shadows lingered around us. "I want to believe we can," I replied carefully, unsure if those words would hold true once we left this space filled with creativity and possibility. Yet beneath our fragile connection lay uncharted waters filled with doubt. After sharing our thoughts on the canvas, we wandered through more exhibits, a journey that felt both intimate and foreign at once. The art around us mirrored our lives, chaotic yet beautiful in its complexity. I couldn't shake off the nagging sense that while we were exploring this new dynamic together, there remained pieces of ourselves hidden away, unexpressed desires lurking just out of reach. Later that evening, as we returned home under dim streetlights casting long shadows on our path, an unexpected silence enveloped us. The air thickened with tension as unspoken words hung heavily between us like an unfinished painting waiting for its final strokes. "Do you think it's possible to love more than one person?" My husband broke the silence cautiously. His question struck me like lightning. A jolt of recognition ignited within me as I thought about my own entanglements. "I suppose it depends on how you define love," I answered slowly. He nodded thoughtfully but didn't pursue it further. Instead, he turned toward our living room where remnants of our earlier conversations lingered like echoes refusing to fade away. The next few days passed in a blur, conversations about boundaries mixed with moments of vulnerability shared over coffee in cozy cafes filled with laughter and warmth. Yet every interaction felt laced with tension, every glance exchanged carried weight beyond mere curiosity or affection. Then came the festival, a vibrant celebration where colors danced against music filling every corner of Portland's streets. My husband suggested attending together, perhaps immersing ourselves in joy could help heal old wounds. But deep down inside me was another voice whispering temptations too alluring to ignore. The artist would be there too, his presence promised something thrilling yet dangerous just beneath my skin. As twilight descended upon us that evening amidst laughter and chatter from festival-goers reveling in life's simple pleasures, I found myself torn between two worlds, the one built on familiarity and safety versus one pulsing with passion and uncertainty. When we arrived at the festival grounds alive with energy and excitement buzzing all around us, it felt surreal yet intoxicatingly liberating at once. We wandered hand in hand through stalls bursting with local crafts while street performers captivated audiences nearby. Each moment held potential for connection or disconnection alike. Just as I spotted him across a sea of faces, the artist whose essence had seeped into my thoughts, I felt an electric thrill course through me like wildfire igniting dry brushwood underfoot. "Let's grab some food," my husband suggested, suddenly breaking into my reverie. His smile seemed genuine, but masked emotions simmering beneath surface layers remained unaddressed, still lingering unresolved between us both now more than ever before. As we stood in line for food trucks serving everything from gourmet tacos to artisanal desserts, a cacophony of flavors wafting through air tinged sweetly warm, I caught sight again of him weaving effortlessly amidst festival-goers, lost among laughter shared amongst friends celebrating fleeting moments together. A flicker crossed his face when he noticed me watching, an acknowledgement passing silently between us, but before anything could unfold further than mere eye contact, my husband turned back toward me holding steaming plates laden high above fragrant delights prepared fresh just moments prior. "What do you think? Should we try those?" I nodded absent-mindedly while distractions tugged insistently at heartstrings, longing for release from constraints binding tightly around choices made previously, choices leading toward unforeseen consequences looming ever closer, now threatening everything familiar once held dear. Later that night, after returning home exhausted yet exhilarated from festivity's embrace, I found myself unable to shake off feelings swirling within like autumn leaves caught up in gusty winds, refusing stillness even momentarily. And then came whispers wrapped softly around corners darkened by shadows cast long ago. Would loyalty prevail over desire? Could love withstand tests forged anew? Or would all unravel, leaving only fragments behind scattered carelessly along paths chosen unwisely? The questions lingered unanswered as sleep eluded me entirely. The morning light poured through the window, illuminating the remnants of my chaotic thoughts. I stood at the threshold of a decision that felt monumental, yet oddly familiar. The coffee shop down the street beckoned, its warmth promising comfort amidst the turmoil swirling in my mind. I needed clarity, a moment to breathe without the weight of expectations. As I walked, the vibrant murals that adorned the walls seemed to echo my internal struggle. Each brushstroke told a story of conflict and resolution, much like my own. I entered the shop and ordered a black coffee, letting its bitterness ground me. Sitting at a corner table, I observed other patrons, couples lost in conversation, friends sharing laughter, and felt an ache for something stable. My phone buzzed on the table, breaking my reverie. A message from him, "Thinking about you today." A simple note that carried layers of meaning. Did he sense my turmoil? Or was he still caught in his own web of insecurities? The thought sparked a flicker of guilt within me. I had agreed to this experiment with good intentions, hoping to strengthen our bond. Yet here I was, entangled in feelings for someone else entirely. The artist had opened up new dimensions within me, creativity flowed like a river when we were together. But now, standing at this crossroads, I questioned if those moments were worth sacrificing what we had built over years. With each sip of coffee, memories flooded back, the laughter shared over dinner tables, quiet evenings spent reading side by side. There was love there too, it just felt buried beneath layers of complexity now. Could we find our way back? Or had we ventured too far into uncharted territory? I pulled out my sketchbook and began to draw absent-mindedly. Lines emerged on paper, curves and angles reflecting my inner conflict. The artist's influence lingered in every stroke, his passion ignited something dormant within me. As I sketched, a realization struck. Perhaps this journey was not just about exploring love but about rediscovering myself. A soft voice interrupted my thoughts. "That looks beautiful." I glanced up to see an older woman admiring my work. She wore an apron splattered with paint and carried an air of wisdom. "Thank you," I replied softly. "Art has a way of revealing truths we often hide from ourselves," she said with a knowing smile. Her words resonated deeply as if she had peered into my soul. "Do you think it's possible to love more than one person?" She paused thoughtfully before answering. "Love is expansive, it can grow and change shape over time." Her perspective shifted something within me, a reminder that love is not confined by traditional boundaries but rather flows like water around obstacles. I left the coffee shop feeling lighter yet burdened by the weight of decisions looming ahead. The artist had become a catalyst for change. He challenged me to confront emotions long suppressed while simultaneously complicating everything I thought I understood about fidelity and commitment. Later that day, as dusk settled over Portland's streets filled with festival lights and music echoing through alleyways, I found myself wandering toward an art gallery showcasing local talent. It felt like fate pulling me closer to him again, a chance encounter that could either clarify or further entangle our lives. Inside the gallery, colors danced across canvases, each piece told stories of longing and discovery much like mine. My heart raced as I spotted him across the room, his eyes bright with excitement as he discussed his latest work with an admirer. "Hey," he said when he noticed me approaching, his smile infectious as always. "Hi," I responded cautiously. He stepped closer, his energy wrapping around me like a warm embrace amidst all this uncertainty. "I've been waiting for you." "I needed some time to think," I admitted. His expression shifted slightly, an understanding mixed with concern flickered across his face before he masked it with charm again. "Let's create something together tonight." The invitation sent butterflies fluttering in my stomach as we moved toward one of the empty canvases set up in the corner, a space meant for collaboration among artists during festival nights. As we painted side by side under dim lights filled with laughter and chatter around us, something shifted again, a spark igniting between us beyond mere attraction or infatuation. It felt profound yet dangerous all at once. "Your strokes are bold," he noted appreciatively while glancing at what I had created alongside him, a swirl of colors representing chaos intertwined with hope. "It's how I feel right now," I confessed quietly as our eyes locked momentarily before returning to our work. We worked late into the night until exhaustion settled in our bones. Laughter echoed through empty halls where art breathed life around us until finally, we spent the night together, lost in creativity and connection that transcended words spoken aloud or promises made silently beneath starry skies outside windows framing our world together momentarily suspended outside reality's grasp. But when dawn broke through cracks between curtains draped along walls painted vibrantly by dreams both shared and unspoken, clarity arrived alongside confusion anew. The weight pressing heavier upon my chest than ever before as choices loomed larger than life itself demanding resolution soon enough. As morning light spilled across unfinished canvases still wet with paint reflecting stories untold waiting patiently for their turn, anxiety gripped tightly around every thought swirling chaotically inside me battling against hope yearning desperately for answers still obscured by shadows cast long ago. In those fleeting moments before reality intruded fully upon dreams woven intricately throughout nights filled with laughter mingled softly against whispers exchanged under starlit skies, Decisions grew clearer yet more complicated than ever before, leaving lingering questions unanswered hanging precariously above fragile hearts teetering on edges, readying themselves for falls unforeseen. Would love prevail despite tangled paths chosen unwisely? Or would all unravel, leaving only fragments behind, scattered carelessly along paths chosen anew? The final decision loomed heavy above me like clouds pregnant with rain, readying themselves for storms brewing just beyond sight's reach, waiting patiently until they could unleash torrents upon unsuspecting souls daring enough to dream amidst chaos.